home and all is good in his world.
He doesn't miss an eyesight.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Happy spring. Welcome to the March meeting of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and you have in front of you the minutes from the February 22nd meeting. Take a motion whenever anyone's ready. Move. Thank you, Ron. You have a second? Frank? Any questions, comments, corrections, observations? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Rachel, the floor is yours.
All right, so we have the February. The February financial report. And we'll start on page 4 for the restricted account. At the end of February, the balance in restricted was $471,896.41. We have an additional loan in revolving. Their payments technically started March 1st, so they're on here and they made their first payment this month, so it's reflected in the report that you see next month. And then having them obviously paying right along. Is there? Oh,
So
yes.
did we sent letters to VMR, correct?
We did.
Okay,
Yes.
so we were working on that
All
actively.
Right, thanks. So we'll skip to page 6 for the UDAG account. At the end of the month, the balance in UDAG was $605,115.29. On the following page, page 7 for the receivables. We received 142 Court Street. They paid off their principal balance in full. That may have happened after the end of the month, but so they are no longer in default, which is great. We have entered into an agreement for payment with Zach Salisbury. We have yet to receive a payment from Zach Salisbury, but we have been in contact with him, which is great. He reached out to us actually, so that was great. And we have communicated to Ariel Hendricks that we are moving her into the collections process. And everybody else came right along, looking great. Let's see here, so the unrestricted account, no activity in unrestricted.
The only thing is that we're gonna be talking with Susan about this account, while it has so much money in it, or managing the Boscovs project is making a significant amount of interest, which we've talked about, and there's not a compliance or liability issue for us, but it is a possibility that we could be capitalizing on that more in the short term, we'd like to.
So more to come on that. On the Triad account, no activity. Mayor's Veterans Initiatives account, no activity, and the grant account. We finally figured out the payment for the Darrow, that is the bike rack fixing thing.
Yes.
From the Main Street grant, that we were updating, replacing.
Right, as part of the New York Main Street grant, we had to maintain the elements that were paid for by the grant, and both of the bike racks on the corner of Front and Main were broken in a variety of ways, so we ordered replacements.
So that's the WCDC.
The repair station.
Yes, repair
Yeah.
stations.
On the tools, so forth.
So on the delinquent loan page, VMR, that's in process, Ariel Hendricks in process. Quality of life, we're gonna move him back into hopefully being not in default when he starts making his payments.
Good.
And 142 Court Street is paid.
Thanks.
So at the end of February, the delinquency percentage of all loans not designated as non-performing was 0.46.
Any questions for Rachel? Any questions for Rachel?
Oh, can I ask you a question? I go by Crowley's a lot. What's the status of that?
They are supposed to be picking their GC and or their general contractor in the next 2 weeks. They've got all of their information into the banks. They're just waiting on their final terms to come in. So we're hoping by the end of the month, we'll be able to talk to Empire State Development about advancing their grant payments. So it's moving, they're moving forward. I had a meeting with them yesterday. Things are going well, just taking the time it takes in a project of that size.
Thank you.
All right, item number 4 is the presentation of the 2022-23 annual report and the commercial facade improvement grant program.
So we're actually gonna do this kind of in the opposite order. We're gonna look at the facades first, and this is kind of the project to date of all of the facade grant projects that were done. I guess up until kind of last year, work kind of stopped for the winter.
I think in the bottom corner.
What do you mean?
Never mind.
Advance it here.
It's all good.
If you're trying to go for advance.
Yeah.
Yep. No, no.
Good one. There's stuff already. Okay, so 30 Charles, this is kind of like a big showpiece. This is a huge giant sign that is so markedly different. You can see it from the street. It looks amazing. They did a whole other huge project on like kind of the entire exterior of the building. And our BLDC investment was a small portion of that, but I think it has a lot of impact. Even nice and plain, right?
The national headquarters of Freedom to Park.
There you go.
We love that on a wonderful sunny day, both of these nice pictures. This is 34 Hazel Street. This is Satch's Tea House, which they had a relatively small project, but I think it had a really big impact. Standing near this building, it does look a lot better. So we supported the paint and this cool awning, and they replaced the windows. And they also replaced the windows on the back. And in their second phase of their project this year, they will also be replacing the entrance and exit door on the back of it. This is one of our favorite ones. I just think this looks so cute. I love what they did. Our investment pretty much supported this awning. And then they did painting here. They did the trim work. So, you know, this is a huge change. And it looks great on Clinton Street. 128 Washington Street was a little bit hard to see. You had to really zoom in, but all of this like mortar was missing between these bricks, which is what needed to be fixed before they started falling off the building. So now if you zoomed in on this picture, it looks really, really nice. And this was a really easy, really easy open and shut one payment. And he has applied for our second round to do the wood trim that kind of is underneath the brick. So this is a multiple phase project that is on a historic building, and it was really nice. This is Park Outdoor, which is the company that makes these billboards. They painted their building. It looks really nice. This was like a 50-50 split on the paint, and it does make a large impact as you're driving by the building. It's completely different.
And we redid the parking lot next door to this building last year as well. So kind of as a cohesive whole, that area looks really nice right now.
Did you notice, I think, in the purpose of too?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they did. They have this. So 33 Court Street, this is another one that's difficult to see because of the way that the photo is taken, but they had to replace a lot of the like trim in here that was rotting wood trim. And then they repainted the gray, which is I think like a metal facade thing with historically appropriate paint colors. They did a really nice job, and then did this nice lighted sign for the gym. And this was phase 1 of the project. There's a phase 2 of the project coming where he's going to finish up some of the brickwork and some of the painting on the rest of the facade.
We'd like to support Juice Juicery and getting a sign as well, because right now they just have a window sign. But I've heard they've been doing really good business there.
Is that still Brent? Who owns the
No.
building?
Owen Bly.
Oh, that's, yeah.
This is a huge change. This was the Serafini building. It's a historic building. It was in very dire need of a paint job, and the paint job looks fantastic. And that's right across the street from the makerspace, which also has received one of our facade grants. So that like whole little area is going to look really nice. this giant wall, obviously the brick was in very bad shape, so the brick was all restored, repointed, some of it had to be you know, repaired, replaced. This was a big project to get this wall ready for a mural, which it now has. So this was, I guess, like the primer coat, and then an artist did a mural on it, which I believe was through the county. You know,
I don't know if it was a private mural,
but it was. So yeah, now it has a big fish on it. This is the Phelps Mansion. This was a nice little project. This was the first one actually to be completed, and they completely refinished this really amazing door. And then this is Team World. This is a huge building, so it was a huge paint job. And the paint was just kind of cracking and peeling off on the facade of the building, so.
Sorry. I'll call back.
So they totally redid the paint, and it looks much, much nicer. So this is our program to date. This is the dollar amount that we paid out in reimbursements. And this is the dollar amount spent that was not reimbursed by the building owners. And this is the total impact to date of the project. Yeah, so I made a couple of copies of the annual report, but they were long, so maybe we can share those and I'll throw it up on the screen. We can go over the annual report from the 2022-2023 year. Yeah, it is. Okay.
Call back, thank you. No, that's why I said I'll call back. Sorry.
So the board of directors, largely the same. We've made a few additions during the current year. This is all the stuff is from the last program here.
Yeah, so 2022-2023 ending the end of August 23.
So we'll have to think back a little bit, those of us who are here to remember some of these projects. This is things that the ABO likes us to list in our annual report communication. These are our committees. This is kind of the technical assistance and the concierge service, this business visitation. Those are things that our office has always offered, that our office has continued to offer in 2022, 2023. Particularly, I put this picture here because Joel worked particularly hard for many years leading up to 22, 23 to locate Innovation Associates in the Save Around building. So that was a huge success during that year. We continued our partnership with SUNY Broom doing the EAC grant. That is a grant that we are a pass-through for that allows the SUNY Broom to run their entrepreneurial program. They run a 60-hour education program for entrepreneurs, which has always been a really great partnership and a great pipeline to things like our business plan competition, and also just really good educational support for entrepreneurs in the community. They now have a new person running it, so that's really exciting. This is our featured loan from last year, Hanahan Enterprises. The gentleman here, who is John Hanahan, who purchased Nurche's Pizza after working there for 30 odd years. And he has already made amazing updates to the business plan. He started offering retirement benefits to his employees. He was able to retain over 20 employees at the Nurche's Pizza on Water Street. Which is, you know, and Nurche's obviously is always been standard pizza in the community. So this is a loan snapshot from 22-23. As of August, we had about 500,000 in revolving and about 600,000 in UDAG. These numbers are different now. And these are the loans that closed during that financial year. So we always do a little snapshot of what the last Looks great. Um, and yeah, you see, we've really bounced back from COVID, which, you know, things were a little, this is, the COVID year that we had no loans. We did approve some of, we didn't actually close any, so we really bounced back from that. So in here also, you can find descriptions of all of our loan programs. And this is the big event of the spring for the BLDC. This was our business plan competition, which was great last year. We had so many great entrants. We had really great finalists. And the winner was Electric Light Apparel. This gentleman over here who makes lighted garments.
I'm a little disappointed that I'm not in that picture. Can we fix that, please?
But you were sitting right over here.
Okay, I got
And I
you.
just
Got
had
you.
it on
Got the
the
picture, all right, that's right.
In my direction.
I'm sure it was. Mayor won't beat it.
You're in the current picture on the city website.
Thank you.
So yeah, the last year we had a $5,000 cash award, and last year was the first year that we handed out second and third prize awards.
Nice.
So our second place went to Vidova La Couture, which is a women's clothing store on Clinton Street. And third place went to Perfectly Poured. These are both woman-owned businesses. These are both very young women in the entrepreneurship space, so that was really exciting.
And Perfectly Poured now sells their products at Vidova.
Which is a great synergy.
Yeah, that's cool.
And these two entrants to the business plan competition were also participants in the 607 Step Up program, which was great last year. We were able to give out 9 of the 10 possible awards. Everyone was able to use the full 5,000 Step Up grant in order to kind of take their business to the next step. And they were all participants in either the SBB 607 program or the 60-hour program, or had done work with the SBDC to do, you know, education, business education. This is our second place winner of the business plan competition here as our featured grant recipient.
And I believe those balloons were done by.
Yes, who is also a grant recipient. So yeah, a really supportive group of mostly women in this program, which was really great. So this is the stuff that we just went over, just a little bit smaller. So I wanted you guys to see the pictures very large on the screen, but this is the facade program. So we have our project impact. These are the projects, I'm sorry.
That's just reference projects that were awarded versus the numbers you saw earlier, the ones that have been paid out to date. So that's why there's differences in those numbers.
Yes, yep, so these are the projects that are underway. Some of these have had to hold work over the winter, and they're gonna be finishing up in the spring. So this will be the total of everything that we have awarded so far that will be spent this season. Everyone who's picking up work in the spring will have until the end of the year to complete these projects and be reimbursed. We also contracted with Delta in order to provide design services. That was another thing that held some people up over the winter. Delta Engineers was able to provide design services for, you know, people who didn't necessarily know what they wanted to do towards fixing their facades. So that was a really valuable addition to the grant. Those projects are starting to begin. Makerspace is one of them, and they're going to look really, really great. And these are our performance measures that we approved in November. There's some wonderful public authorities law stuff about the LDC if you want to reacquaint yourself with that information.
That's all the requirements.
That's, yeah, those are ABO requirements for our annual. But good for everyone to know.
So we basically got a 1-to-1 leverage on our facade, or more than 1-to-1, right?
It's more than 1-to-1, yeah.
500,000 ended up leveraging more than 500,000 in the private sector
Yeah.
investments. Okay, that's great.
Huge impact to the city that we-
Yeah, and we talked about it with strategic priorities, loan committee last week. And there'll be a couple more approved, but we definitely found that the smaller grants were even more impactful than some of the larger ones. So that's a focus that we will be. One, it makes the money go farther, but it just seems like people who had like just one thing they needed to do that they needed a little bit of help with, were able to really quickly turn those around, and they were visually impactful.
Nice job, Rachel.
Thank you.
Rachel.
So I printed a couple of copies. I will send around a PDF to the board, and please feel free to share it. It'll be on the website as well. With, anyone who is interested in the loan programs or any of the grant programs or any of the work that we do in general.
The facade presentation was great. It's good to see pictures of the before and after. And parents release it's a lot of fun. So, congrats, that's a lot of work.
Thanks, Rachel.
All right, we have one item under new business this morning, resolution 24-12. A resolution of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation to accept the recommendation of the loan committee to award 4 commercial facade improvement grants.
And those are on the back of the.
Do you want to provide any comments on these, or?
I can give you a rundown quickly of the work, of the scope of work. It's kind of like basically Binghamton Huts, they are restoring the woodwork around the area that they already repointed on the very top of their facade above the door. Katie Kane, she is the owner of Simply Apparel and Simply Tan. That's in the building on South Washington that used to be the number 5 restaurant. And she really needs like a great sign. So we are hoping to support her in that.
And she has some additional challenges because it's a historic building. So that's why being able to support her in kind of a larger dollar project that would be in other parts of the city, because it has to be compliant, it has to not affect the historic character of that location. We think will be really important.
Rob Wandell, he has his shop on Fort Street, and then he just annexed the shop next door, so he was wanting to take his signage over to the awning next door and do like a new awning so that everything is streamlined and seamless over there. And I think that, will be really impactful, especially as he is expanding his business, which we love.
The current awning is for a different business, so it's a little confusing.
A little bit.
And then the Garland Gallery, she has many windows on her building and they all need to be replaced. So she is looking to do that this season. She's looking to do that quickly. She, has done one of our facade loans because she has repointed the back of her building. This will be on the front of her building. So she is doing her best to just be a really good steward of this historic building. So she has asked for our support with that.
She's on that building for
Many years.
Question, so are these grants part of the $500,000 that was available, or is
Yes,
this
so-
part of a different?
We're calling it kind of like round 2.1. This was money that was left over from projects that didn't go forward from the first round of awards.
Understand. And is there a list of projects that were denied funding, or they didn't, that their application was not approved?
Yeah, so we didn't deny any applications that came in. A few applications ended up being within the geographical area that the Main Street grant program is going to be in. So we are slotting those applications over into the Main Street grant. But we didn't deny any applications this time around.
So we just didn't approve them. So they're still on our docket of projects in the pipeline, but we also didn't have enough money left in the fund to fund all of them. There's a possibility that as this moves forward and different projects don't move forward, that we'll have more money in the fund to relook at those projects again. But to Rachel's point, ideally, we'll be able to funnel them into a different program. That was always part of the intent of this, was to understand where the needs were across the city and then be able to identify not just this program, but other programs that might support this development. But yes, I mean, we're happy to provide that information. The loan committee reviewed all of the applications that came in and made the recommendation for these 4.
Do I have a motion? Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's great. This is really good stuff, good important stuff. So, good job, guys. Thank you all very much. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So within the last couple of weeks, we did make the announcement for the Binghamton Business Plan competition, encouraging businesses to apply for that. It was great to see at the press conference so many prior winners of the business plan competition we had at the incubator. So again, highlighting the entrepreneurial ecosystem that we have, all of the other support services that we provide for entrepreneurs, and ultimately get people to apply and get the word out that there's money available. And, the businesses that have won this competition in the past have gone to receive, sometimes national attention and investment. So really looking forward to that. And what's the next step on that, Joel? What's the next date?
Step is the executive summaries are due April 3rd, Wednesday.
Okay. And then the announcement we think would be sometime in May.
Well,
April.
we'll have the competition, the judges will receive the written business plans are due later in April, and then there will be the competition with the oral presentations the end of May, and you'll make your announcement in early June.
Got it. Great. Other kind of updates from a grant side of things, economic development wise, we'll be advancing an application with Restore New York. It's going to be a unique year and a really exciting year that we hope to get 2 projects funded in the city of Binghamton. One market rate project that the city is taking the leading role on the application, and then a partnership with Broome County on an affordable housing application. So again, still benefiting the city. And that process is, will go into kind of late May on the applications, and we're working with those folks. So, as usual, we will have, a very aggressive approach to Restore New York. We have a track record of getting these grants and spending the money. So this year will be no different. And, we'll, as probably at next month's meeting, we'll have some more details about kind of where things stand there. But I'm really excited that, again, we're able to partner with the county, make their priorities our priorities, and then likewise. And, it's probably the first time that something like that has happened in a long, long period of time. Last night, about 9 o'clock, I got a phone call from Senator Schumer, who let me know that the president had signed a spending bill that included a $5 million grant for Henry Street reconstruction. We spent some money to do a design, and that design is underway right now, but this is to support a complete streetscape and improvement and rebuild of Henry Street, basically between the bus station all the way to the Brandywine and the Stadium District. This is to enhance walkability, try to support private investment that's happening. A $5 million grant just for one project is probably the largest that at least the city has seen in some period of time. And it was the largest request in this congressional district as part of that spending bill. So we shot for the moon and we landed. So that is being designed right now. They're pretty far along, and we expect to be able to break ground next year on that project. It'll be a huge investment, and being able to take care of probably 75+% of the project through a federal grant means the world to local taxpayers, and we're certainly thankful for our federal officials.
So you're sitting on the couch and Schumer calls you? Is that what happens?
My wife told me my phone was ringing. I was puttering around the house. Yeah,
that's
or
fantastic.
putzing around the house, whatever.
I didn't mean to
Probably.
interrupt you.
Oh yeah,
I just wanted to capture that.
yeah. It was. Yeah, you captured it all right.
Yeah.
So, but the other thing too that this just means for the Stadium District, we initiated that plan, and I think a lot of times these plans just sit on the shelf, and that's not what I want to do. And so this funding will help us on the public sector side do what we need to do. Anyone who's walked on Henry Street during a baseball game knows that it's not the Stadium District that you see in other cities. It's not really conducive to new private investment. It's not good for families and people walking. We're going to completely change that. And with this investment in the public sector, with Ken Kearney's project, with Stadium Loss, with cleaning up the blight in that block near Amici, where there's some current Ansrew buildings, I think we'll have a really great next 12 to 18 months that Henry Street will look completely different than it does today, and has looked for the better part of 30 years. So we're very excited about this project. That's all I have.
I have more questions about the call, but I'll talk to you. Okay, that's great stuff here. Thank you very much. Let's turn it over to the rose between two thorns here. Let's turn it over to
The thorn between two roses.
okay, that's fair. Go ahead, Sarah.
I just want to underscore what the mayor said about not leaving plans on the shelf. My department and the mayor's office and planning work really well together to ensure that when there's tax dollars that are spent to develop a plan, that becomes the framework by which we make funding decisions and by which we advance the vision for the city. The Stadium District and the Clinton Street Neighborhood Business District are the two kind of prime examples, but prior to my tenure here, the planning department worked on brownfield opportunity area programs, local waterfront redevelopment plans, lots of things that enable us to access these state and federal grants. They show that we are committed to these neighborhoods, that we have a vision, that we know where we want this money to go, that we are committed to it as well. And that's the only way to get this money. It's the only way to show people that we're serious about the investments we're making. So I have been really happy with that during my last 2 years at the city, and I hope we'll continue doing that as we move along and continue to work with our partners in City Hall. Really want to give the biggest shout out in the world to the staff here. Rachel did such an amazing job on the annual report and on all of these facade grants. She also just deals with many things that I throw at her related to finances and inquiries and bills that need to be paid. And just does them and takes care of them and makes sure that I don't ever have to worry about them, which I very much appreciate. Janine's been no different, stepping into the role and being able to just take over the New York Main Street program and learn really quickly about grant administration and kind of what we're doing in our office. Has been instrumental in supporting cafe permits and event permits, supporting the businesses, communicating with them different opportunities that are available, just things that are really easy to just fall through the cracks during a busy day. And I've been really grateful to be able to just throw things to Janine and have her pick them up and take care of them. That's kind of the vibe of our office, is that I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off, and the staff is there to make sure that everything that needs to get done gets done. Which brings me to Joel, who wrapped up the business plan business development workshops last night, which she puts on every year. They've just gotten better and better. We always post them afterwards and get a lot of good information out to folks, information on what an LLC is that the right choice for you? How do you get financing? What does it take to actually take a business off the ground? And so that helps people who understand where they are with their business, whether they're ready for the business plan competition, whether they need to take advantage of other entrepreneurial resources in the area. It's also a great show from all of the businesses that donate their time and their expertise to burgeoning businesses in the city. KeyBank, Coughlin and Gearhart, a number of institutions that support us through in-kind contributions with the business plan competition. Monetarily, we're very grateful for the Binghamton Oneonta Building Trades and Saul Stearns for joining us as sponsors this year, in addition to M&T Bank as our principal title sponsor. So it's been a very, very good year for the business plan competition. We've had tons of inquiries from really interesting projects, so we're excited to see what comes in. Last year, we had a very hard time narrowing down the businesses that would move on from the executive summaries to the business plan. I anticipate we'll have a similar experience this year. There's a couple of other programs out there. I know the Broome County Arts Council is doing a series on the business of art. And so this will be a good opportunity for us to see what's out there and be able to direct people to those resources that are in the community. One thing we talk about a lot is there are a ton of resources for entrepreneurs and businesses in the city and in Broome County at large. And we all work together to triage people to the right place, but getting them in the door in the first place can be tricky. So something like the business plan competition that has such good press and gets a lot of people involved helps people come into our door, and then we can help them find where they ultimately need to be to take the next step in whatever journey they're on. So it's been a really good experience, like it has every year. It's the 14th year, so we'll have to have a nice anniversary celebration next year, Joel. But just very, very grateful for all the work that the staff has done. Really grateful to have Janine on. Definitely having another person has been kind of a game changer for us in getting a lot of things done this year. 187 Clinton, that's our affordable housing project on the corner of Jarvis and Clinton, moving right along. They are set to go to Planning Commission in May. They'll be advancing their application for low-income housing tax credits in the next 2 weeks. They are optimistic that they will receive those in the next round. They've been in active communications with Homes and Community Renewal to make sure that their application has no issues. There'll be no roadblocks. There won't be questions from the state on anything in the project. So more to come on that as they advance that and we hear more from the state, but really, really positive momentum on that. They've actually increased phase 1 from 102 units to 120 units of housing at this point. So it's an even better project than it was when they first walked in the door, and they're already thinking about what a phase 2 project would look like on that site to add additional affordable housing in the first ward. Boscovs are kind of perennial update, continuing to work on the lease. Our corporation counsel's office has been redlining the draft that came to us. We'll flip that back to Boscovs in short order, and hopefully quickly come to an agreement on what that language should be. It'll have all of the basic outlines that were in the letter of intent that was signed by the city and Boscovs. This just fills in all of the history of the leases. As we all know, this property has a very long and storied history of ownership, so you have to codify all of that in the lease and make sure everyone understands kind of how we got to this point. And then all of the stipulations that will be in place, given the amount of local and state money that has been applied to this project. So we'll continue to work with them on that. There have been some, I think, normal delays in the process of getting the garage and the Boscovs tie-in settled, but I think we're on the tail end of that, right, Chuck?
Yes.
Yeah, so things, Chuck had a full head of hair before the Boscovs project, but he's been amazing in coordinating with the many players, local vendors that we're working with, the Boscovs employees, everyone, in making sure that that project goes as smoothly as possible. And I really, for a project of this size and complexity, I think the delays that we've experienced are less than I would have expected. So very grateful for your stewardship on that, Chuck, and we'll continue to move that project right along. Parlor City Commons, that is a redesign that the Economic Development Department is working on with the Planning Department. We have a public meeting scheduled for April 8th. We're just waiting on the flyers to come in, and then we'll distribute those to folks. This is kind of our second iteration of the design of that area, to try to understand how we can use it to best serve the business community that exists on Washington State, Hawley, and Court around the Commons, as well as to redefine it as a gathering space. It used to be vibrant. There used to be events that were programmed there on a regular basis. Over time, it's just degraded. The pavers have started to heave. It's a very difficult place to traverse if you have any sort of mobility issues. When we did our survey, most people said they simply use it as a pass through to get from Hawley to Washington. So we would like to increase the number of people who are actually using it for recreation and events. And I think the initial designs we have get us significantly far down that path. So we're excited to see what the feedback is from the community, so we can make final decisions and get this thing designed for 2025 construction, ideally. Deco Phase 2, so Downtown Arts Phase 2, which exists on Washington and Henry Street primarily. That's advancing. I believe we'll be looking to go out to bid in June for that, to start some of the work in the fall. Still talking about phasing. We have to make sure that we're working with the businesses so that the construction that happens has the most minimal impacts it can have. And so trying to figure out when we should start certain pieces of the project to allow for the businesses to not be so impacted by the amount of construction that needs to happen. Although Phase 2 is much less intrusive than Phase 1, will take less time, will be less impactful, but still trying to learn lessons from how that went. Overall, we were pleased with the coordination between the contractors and the businesses. But of course, there was a couple of snags, as there always are in projects like this. So trying to take those lessons into Phase 2 and ensure that we're supporting those businesses the best we can. There's more, but I will stop now.
Well, great, thank you very much. Anything else anyone wants to bring up this morning? How are things at the university fair? Yeah, you guys are going crazy over there with all your projects. Very exciting stuff. Yeah. It's great. Anything else this morning? All right, thank you all for everything. Motion for adjournment. Thank you, Frank. Second. John, all in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? No, we want to stay.
You're gonna have